The New York Giants are a complete and utter cluster. Welcome to the Everything New York Giants podcast with New York Giants fangirl. I'm your host, Adrianna. The Giants got absolutely destroyed at home again, this time by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield and his god-awful, so very obvious that he is not Italian, hand gesture celebration. The Giants scored one touchdown. They lost 30-7, which, to be honest, the way that the game was going, I didn't think they were going to score a single touchdown. So one was, a little bit better than what I had thought. It was ugly. It was ugly all around. During the game, before the game, with all the things that came out, with Daniel Jones being released and the players talking in the locker room, then you get destroyed at home against the Bucs, and then the post games are all players ripping the organization essentially and their teammates. So the Giants are a mess right now, and I don't really think that we need to recap the game that much. What I will say is that I thought coming out that it looked like the defense was doing their job and they had made a couple stops here and there, but it got ugly very quickly, being down 23-0 at the half. Somehow the defense managed to pull it together the slightest bit in the second half because they allowed the Bucs to only score one touchdown as opposed to three that they did in the first half. So, that's a concession, if you will. I was live streaming and I was laughing to myself when they have Drew Lock warming up on the sidelines because DeVito got injured. And Drew Lock comes in for one snap. And then it's back to Tommy DeVito. What I will say, DeVito is he's tough. He took a lot of hits yesterday. He was sacked 4 times for 23 yards and definitely more pressures than that. I have a lot of concerns. My concern when Illuminor came out is Chris Hubbard is your backup after you just signed Tyree Phillips. Why is Tyree Phillips not activated on game day? Daboll is fighting for his job. And I know everyone's like, oh, the Giants are tanking. The Giants are tanking. It's not like Daboll did an amazing job up until now that his job should feel 100% safe. And Maris said whatever he said. It would not be the first time or probably the second time that Maris said that in the middle of the season. And then the coach went off the rails even more than they already had prior to that and ended up getting fired. So no one is going to convince me that Daboll is safe. I don't care what John Maris said. When you have players coming out after the game and Malik Neighbors, and listen, you guys know how I feel about Malik Neighbors. I was worried about the personality thing. And ultimately, I do think to a degree, winning cures all. And if they were winning right now, I believe that Malik Neighbors would not be, first of all, he wouldn't be saying things like this to the media, but I think that he would be maybe a little more toned down. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I really feel like the losing is getting to him and it's getting to a lot of players in the locker room, especially Dexter Lawrence and some of the veterans. And I said to someone yesterday that I really feel for Brian Burns because he comes from the Panthers. He's thinking that he's going to a new organization. He's got a new defensive coordinator. He's playing with Dexter Lawrence and Bobby Okereke, some really talented guys, and just probably felt like he got out of this disaster that was Carolina and he's coming to the Giants and he's got a fresh start and everything's going to be better. And this poor guy is just dealing with this shit. So much so that after the game, he apparently sat down the team and had a conversation with them. I don't know what he said, but all I have to say is that if I were Brian Burns, and I think Dexter Lawrence are really some of the two guys out of the team as a whole that have the authority as veterans and experienced good football players to come in and say, you need to get your shit together. Whoever's slacking off, get your shit together because I'm out here. I don't have to work half as hard as I can. I have an established reputation in the league as being a tough football player who plays my ass off week in and week out. But some of you other guys, Deontay Banks and whoever else was not clearly giving a shit yesterday, you guys don't have that. It's not up to you to sit around and slack off and say, oh, well, the season's over. It doesn't really matter. So if I were Brian Burns, I'm honestly very impressed that he did not beat the shit out of anyone yesterday, because I probably would have if I was him. So I give him credit for doing that. What I'd like to see is that guys like him and Dexter Lawrence are stepping up and being leaders in the locker room. Now, I don't know who's doing that on offense. I think the biggest thing that we're learning from this is that Daniel Jones was way more of a leader. We know he was a captain, and so was Andrew Thomas, but it sounds like Daniel Jones was way more of a leader than anyone thought. And just because, he's not Mr. Rah-Rah out there, like, in the middle of the team huddle, cheering guys on or whatever people expect him to be doing as a vocal leader, I say that in quotes for those of you who are listening, that he was the leader in there. And there's absolutely some issues going on in this locker room that those guys respected him, and they respected the fact that maybe he wasn't having a great year and he's not the most amazing quarterback, but he was the best of the three. And I think they felt, and you get this vibe from some of the things that they said without them directly saying it word for word, is that they felt like they had a better chance to win, and they don't have any faith in, maybe they have more faith in Drew Lock as opposed to Tommy DeVito. I don't know that. But what I do know is that it sounds like they don't have a lot of faith in Tommy DeVito, and they don't have a lot of faith in the coaching staff. So I want to go back to Neighbors for a second, because him, Dexter Lawrence, and some of the other guys in their post games, even Jermaine Illuminor, who left the game early with an injury, said that they questioned the lack of effort. So they said the team is playing soft as fuck, is quote exactly what Malik Neighbors said. And the reason that I say that guys like Burns and Dexter have the authority and respect to say things like that is because they're not out there dogging it on their routes. Or routes, whatever. I get that Malik Neighbors is frustrated, and he should be frustrated. He was asked this exact question during Hard Knocks and during his interview with the Giants, and Daboll straight up asked him, how are you going to be able to handle it if this team is losing? And he said, well, I'm not going to be happy. And I think maybe they should have had the foresight to say, we know exactly who this guy is as a personality. Maybe he needs a little bit of extra media training. Maybe we need to get him involved earlier on in the game instead of when it's 30-0. Get him involved. He's our best playmaker on offense. So I understand him questioning Daboll. I get it. I'm on his side. You should be questioning Daboll. We all should be questioning Daboll with that piss poor performance that we saw yesterday and that we have seen week after week during this entire season. Okay. It's not our first rodeo watching this team play like shit. The difference is that now the players are coming out and saying it to the media. And in my opinion, Daboll can't come back from this. When you have players who are saying they are calling out the effort of their teammates to the media, this is exactly what I talked about when I listed under my definition of what losing the locker room is. This is it. This is a big part of it. When players are questioning the coaching, they're questioning the scheme, they're questioning the efforts of their own teammates. And say whatever you want about Daniel Jones. We all agree that him being benched at this time was the right move. And I know 99% of Giants fans are thrilled that he got released. Was it the right move? Yes. I don't fault John Mara, and I don't fault anyone for that, because keeping him on as the quarterback for the rest of the season is pathetic and embarrassing look for everyone except for him. So I don't disagree with that being the wrong move. My concern is that he was holding that locker room together more so than anyone, including myself, expected. So now you know that the front office made business decisions, and Carl Banks talked about this. And I think that hearing from former players who have been in locker rooms, like obviously us normal people don't have that experience. So I don't know how normal it is for the players to love or hate the GM. But when Carl Banks comes out and says that when he was playing, not everyone loved the GM. Okay. We're in that locker room and we talk shit about the GM, and he was very clearly not loved by every single player. That's how it goes. So when Jordan Renan comes out and say that the players aren't happy with the GM, I don't think that is a huge concern, because it's not the first time that it's happened, and it doesn't mean that the GM sucks. You could argue the GM, in some of his decisions that he's made, yes, they suck. Okay, I get that. I'm on board with you with that. Do I think he's the worst GM in the league? No. Do I think he's made some questionable decisions and some mistakes? 100% yes. But where we're at now is that the players know that the injury guarantee was the reason why they benched Daniel Jones. And again, part of it was, of course, was his play on the field. He was not a good football player, but like I said, you're not going to convince anyone that Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito, and that includes the players who are in practice day after day, week after week. You think they look at Tommy DeVito and they say, this guy's going to win us football games? They don't care about a draft pick. They don't care. Someone like Azeez Ojulari is fighting for a contract. Do you think he gives a shit who the Giants have as their quarterback next year with the second overall pick? No, he doesn't. Just like a lot of these other players don't. So the players are not tanking. They're fighting to win, which is why guys like Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns are like, get your shit together. You're embarrassing me because I'm on the same team as you. And they have every right to do that. And I think they should do that. The reason why I say why Daboll can't come back from this is because he's not helping the cause. Daboll speaks to the media today on Monday after the game, and he's asked about the effort on players, what he saw when he watched the film, because this is what we do. This is what the media does every Sunday after the game, is they ask him very specific questions and he says, I have to watch the tape. I have to watch the tape. Bang my head into the wall. Okay, we get it. You watch the tape. And instead of Daboll, this would have been the right move. This is what Daboll should have said. We watched the tape. There are some concerns with effort, and we're addressing it in-house. I will not give specific examples, but I felt like there is some effort to be questioned, and I'm addressing it in-house. And then when you get 50 follow-up questions that say, who was it? Can you point to a specific play? Is it offense or defense? We all know Daboll is going to say, no, he's not going to throw his players under the bus. And maybe he doesn't need to throw the players under the bus. I don't know what the right answer is at this point, but what I know what the wrong answer was to come out and say, I watched the tape and I have no effort concerns. Are you fucking serious? That's what you're going to say when Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Jermaine Illuminor, and Malik Neighbors, probably among other players, who sat there and said that they watch their teammates give no effort. Dexter Lawrence, I'm telling Daboll, sit my ass on the bench because I don't care anymore. I signed a long-term deal. I'm probably not going to be running for Defensive Player of the Year anymore because this team sucks ass and you don't give a shit and you're not doing anything to fix it. So I don't care. I don't want to risk getting injured. I don't give a shit. Sit me on the bench. That's what I would say if I was Dexter Lawrence. And I know that these guys are competitors, and I know Dexter Lawrence would never do that. He is way too good of a guy. He's way too good of a competitor. He fights in and out, week in and week out with his team, and I love him for that. But my God, if I was him, I would be like, nah, I'm good. Because what is the point? Seriously. He's out there working his ass off, and he sees what's going on with other players. And he's expected to just keep going out there and giving it all he's got. I sure as hell would not. And I wouldn't blame him 1 ounce. I'm advocating that he does that because maybe that's what you have to do to set some sort of precedent in this locker room, because Daboll's not doing it. He is not holding anyone accountable. I don't believe that there's any sort of discipline. He was asked about the conversation that he had with Malik Neighbors. What did they talk about? Did they have a conversation, last night or today about his comments? And Daboll said yes, and of course he's going to keep it in-house, but him and Malik had a conversation about it. I'm sure he did. Everything is behind closed doors. You think Malik Neighbors feels any better about it? No. Is Malik Neighbors right about the fact that he didn't have a single target until the team is down 30-0? That is a coaching problem. What the hell are you doing, Daboll? You want to tank again? Like, I really don't believe that he is in a position to be tanking. If you want to make the argument that the reason he didn't get Malik Neighbors involved is because they're tanking, fine. I don't think that's it. I think he's not a good play caller. I think he's not a very good head coach. He's not a great offensive coordinator. And at this point in the season, you should be focused on keeping your players happy. You know what's not going to keep them happy? Shit like this. You're going to tell me that you didn't think that Malik Neighbors, after everything he's said and done up until this point in the season, you didn't think he was going to come out after the game and say some shit like that in his post game? Really? Then you have no pulse as to what's going on in the locker room. And it's dead. It's over for Daboll. He's not coming back from this. And if John Mara brings him back, forget about the fans, okay? Forget about us for a second because we have no say in it. You go and tell Dexter Lawrence, John Mara, you sit down in his office and you say to him that this is a good decision for you moving forward. Because if I were Dexter Lawrence, I would tell you like hell it is. And I want to trade. I think the right thing to do at this point is you keep Daboll and Shane through the rest of the year. Because I don't think, first of all, my concern is I'm on board with the tank. All right. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I feel very bad for guys like Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns. And I want them to play well and I want them to compete. But ultimately, I want them to lose games because that is the best decision for the future of the franchise. And at this point, all I care about is the future because this season sure as hell doesn't mean anything. So what my concern would be is that if they fire Daboll now, and let's just say they promote Mike Kafka, who's the assistant head coach, I think that would make the most sense at this point, is you promote Mike Kafka. What if he brings enough of a spark to get this team to win games? In theory, great story. We love to see it. In reality, no one wants that. We don't want it, okay? We want Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or Jalen Milroe or Travis Hunter, literally anyone who is going to bring life and talent and success into this franchise. And as of right now, I don't think doing that is the right move. So I think you have to keep them through the rest of the season. You tell Dexter Lawrence or whatever you have to tell the players that they've got to keep fighting because they're fighting for contracts. And, you know, at the end of the day, it looks bad on the players. It looks bad on the organization, but ultimately it's the players' responsibility to go out there and play well. Because you can blame the organization all you want. It's on execution. You go out there and lay an egg and fans are leaving early. That also looks bad on you because you had the opportunity to play better and you didn't. So then me as a fan, I'm saying, well, why do I want Tay Banks on this team next year when he obviously doesn't give a shit? And he doesn't care enough about his teammates to act like he cares. These guys are like brothers. This is why I was so emotional about what happened with Daniel Jones. And it's not about what happened with Daniel Jones. It's about the fact that people were mocking him, that he was upset about leaving an organization and friends that he's been with for 6 years. These guys live, eat, sleep, breathe football together. They spend more time together than I spend with my dog and I work from home. The fact that they have to look at each other in the locker room, in meetings, in practice, and no, I saw what you did on Sunday and you don't give a fuck about me. Guess what? I don't give a fuck about you either. That's dysfunction. Major, major dysfunction. And I don't like it. It's embarrassing. Like I said, for everyone involved except for Dexter Lawrence, because he's not the one, you know, who's half-assing it out there. And we can thing about Malik Neighbors, again, is when you have someone like Carl Banks saying that he's watching him be lazy on his route running, and I understand the frustration with the losing. I get it, but it is despicable for you as a rookie, a 6th overall pick. You cannot do that when guys like Dexter Lawrence are giving it their all every single play. He plays, what, 100% of the snaps? 97% of the snaps? And you're going to go out there and say, I don't feel like it today. I don't care. Girl, you got another thing coming for you because the entitlement is not cool. I don't like it. No one should like it. It's not good behavior. And again, I understand the frustration with the losing, but this is not how you fix it, okay? You sit down and you have a conversation with Brian Daboll and you say, listen, man, I'm having a tough time here. I don't trust the quarterback situation. I get we're having some struggles with the offensive line, but you have to get me involved. I'm your best playmaker. And I don't care if Daboll has issues with Neighbors and the thing that he said. I'm a fan. I'm allowed to question that with him. But if you're trying to win football games and save your job and look like a competent head coach, which is what you should be doing more so than anything else, he should be involved. And he should have had a hell of a lot more targets than he did. Let me tell you how many targets he had. 9 targets. He had 6 receptions for 64 yards. You know, it's just not going to have success that way. So that's how I feel about where we're at. The Giants take on the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. And listen, you want to talk about a turnaround? That game, the Cowboys Commanders game on Sunday, was 10-9 at halftime. Very pathetic display of football up until that point. And the second half, I don't know what happened in the locker rooms, but the second half, these teams said, this is embarrassing. We're going to fight. We're going to put on a show. We're going to do whatever we can to win this game. And the Cowboys had everything against them. They are a not good team right now. And they came out and they showed off in the second half. What Jaden Daniels did in the second half was impressive. The way that the teams came together, those are teams that give a shit about each other in the locker room, that care about playing complementary football. The team scored 10 or 9 points in the first half, and we're going to figure it out. It's not going to be the reason why we lose this game. So now we're going into a Cowboys game on Thanksgiving, where prior to this, we all already think that the Giants are going to get embarrassed. Maybe some people thought that the Giants have a chance. God bless. I wasn't one of those people. But now you go into Thursday, and I don't know how anyone is going into this game thinking the Giants have a chance. Because there's just no way. There is not a chance in hell that they win this game. So I mean, the only things I want to see are this. I hope that Jermaine Illuminor is back for everyone's sake, because I cannot watch Chris Hubbard and Evan Neal play tackles again. Get Tyree Phillips in there, please. I don't care about Evan Neal. Give him the snaps. It's fine. Like, I'm not Tommy DeVito. I'm not getting sacked 4 times. What do I care? Evan Neal needs the snaps. Let him play. Put him against Michael Parsons. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Let him figure it out, maybe. But you can't have 2 bad tackles, okay? You can't have Hubbard and Neal. You can't do that. So I want them to bring up Tyree Phillips. Also, let him audition for the opportunity to be a Giant next year, because God knows he better fucking be a Giant for at least the next 3 years. End of discussion. Get him the practice. Let him come back from injury. Get healthy. Get back into it. This is his, audition period. And then you sign him to a long-term deal February 1st, okay? What's next? I want to see Nabers get more involved, because I can't deal with another week of him having these ridiculous post games. So figure it out, Daboll. Get him more involved. Daboll said in his presser today that that's on him and that's on the coaching. They should have gotten him more involved. Oh, you think? My dog could have told you that. Seriously. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating at this point. The worst part was during the game and after the game yesterday. I was just like, I'm not even mad. Like, I don't even care. I'm honestly surprised that I'm as fired up as I am about it right now, because I'm like, it's just pathetic. Like, it's just so embarrassing. And I just don't like being embarrassed. So I guess that's the worst part of it. Then I have to go to my workout class today, and I see someone with a Red Sox cup and another one with an Eagles sweatshirt on. So come on, give me something to be proud of. I walked in with this stupid thing. Like, I should have just brought a different water bottle at this point, because it's embarrassing. But anyway, that's what I want to see on Thursday. Other than that, I don't care. I mean, Tay Banks, step it up or get on the bench. But there needs to be more discipline. And I think at this point it's too late. So I think we are going to be looking at a new head coach, potentially a new GM. And, we'll talk about that more, when it actually happens. Because look, if they don't fire Daboll, we're in for another rough season next year, is all I have to say. So, but until John Mara actually does it and pulls the trigger on the firing, I don't want to go that much in depth about head coaches and GMs and things like that, because it's going to be a waste of everyone's time. So, and I don't want to try and get people's hopes up, because I know how devastating it'll be if everyone's like, we're going to get Mike Vrabel, and then it's like, surprise, Daboll's back. So, let's spare us all. We've dealt with enough trouble, embarrassment, and frustration up until this point in the season. We don't need to tack it on. Okay. So everyone enjoy your Thanksgiving. I'll be back with the podcast. I don't know, maybe Sunday, maybe Friday, depending on how the game goes. But I'm off to Cape Cod, as always, keeping my eyes peeled for Dave Gettleman so I can ask him what the fuck he was thinking during his 4 years as a Giants GM. But enjoy your Thanksgiving, guys. If it's going to do you better to not watch the Giants, I don't blame you. Don't watch it. It's not worth it. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you guys for all of your support. I know that this season sucks, but at least we have each other, right? So thank you for your support. I'm grateful for it every day. And, at some point, it can only go up from here. So please like the podcast, share, subscribe, and I'll be back later this week. And again, hope you guys all have a wonderful Thanksgiving and happy Black Friday shopping. If that's what you're into. Go Giants.